This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Kicking off hour 2 here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, wherever you're watching or listening today. We appreciate it. I'm Stormy Buonantony. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Coming up in about 30 minutes, VSiN's own Greg Hoops Peterson going to stop by the program, give us some of his best bets for today's busy college football card, one that has already been underway for, 7 hours already? Is that where we're sitting?
Yeah. What's 5 o'clock? 12?
Yeah.
5 plus 7 is
Look
12.
at me.
There you go.
I could do a little bit of math. Also, from a futures perspective, that'll be a fun conversation. We will also have Do You Approve This Move, diving into some of the early movement from college football when the lines came out yesterday, and early movement in the NFL and NBA as well. Best bets coming up at the end of the program, but we're going to kick things off here with a little more Monday Night Football discussion coming up from Jerry's World in Dallas, Texas. The Cowboys playing host to the Arizona Cardinals. 3.5 point spread in this one, total 53.5. I mentioned earlier already that just based on how good the Cowboys offense is, how weak their defense is, even with Jacoby Brissett in for the Arizona Cardinals, I actually like their offensive prowess a little bit more with him under center lately. So all things in my mind lend its direction to an over, but that's the only bet I have firmly in pocket. So JBT, I'm hoping you can maybe convince me, or we can have a conversation about a few other potential angles in this game, notably from the prop market, because obviously the menus on these primetime games are huge.
Yes. So before we get to the props, we should read this, as the Cardinals offense is going to be a focus of what I'm going to present to you here today. This is from one Marvin Harrison Sr., father of Marvin Harrison Jr. But you didn't know that. Quote, it's very hard for me to watch the Cardinals offense. And you can quote me on that.
And we are.
Yep. The style of offense that I am accustomed to, that I'm used to watching as a professional eye, as a wide receiver, I just can't relate to watching that offense. That style of offense, basically, I can't relate to what goes on there. I think that's just peacefully put, without pointing fingers or anything. It's just me. I'm giving you the professional eye. I can't relate to it. It don't add up to me. I can't deal with it. And then he went on to say, I don't even bother bringing it up no more. It just takes a lot of self-restraint and duct tape. I have to close my mouth and just say nothing. So this offense has been...
The irony of saying I have to shut up and not say anything after you've just said so much.
There's actually like 2 more blocks of quotes. So I was like, I just can't keep reading this. But the whole point here is, and I think this is the focus of this game, both narratively and just from what we're talking about, from a breakdown and analysis standpoint, because you've had a change in the last 2 weeks. The Cardinals have changed their quarterback, and you've had a different looking offense. They've been throwing the ball more, obviously running the ball less than by that extent. They've been more efficient. So my question to you is, how much do you buy into what we have seen over the last 2 games being legitimate? Because with the change at quarterback becomes with a change in role for some of these players. So I bring up Marvin Harrison Sr. because one of the guys that has not benefited in the last 2 games with the change of quarterback has been Marvin Harrison Jr. If you look at his first 5 games with Kyler Murray as his quarterback, he had 31 targets, got 21 receptions, averaged 15.3 yards per reception, scored 2 touchdowns. He got 19% of Kyler Murray's target share. Over the last 2 games with Jacoby Brissett, his target share has dropped to 9.9%. So Brissett is not targeting him anywhere near the rate that Kyler Murray was. Higher yards per reception, but just 8 total targets, 4 receptions in the 2 games since. I bring this up because that's why I asked the question. It's only 2 games. So maybe for whatever reason, game plan, defensive opponents doing things, shifting coverage toward Marvin Harrison Jr., but it does not seem through 2 games that Brissett is as keyed in on getting the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. as Kyler Murray was when he was starting.
So here's the thing where I'll have slight disagreement, is that...
You can't disagree with numbers. Those are all numbers.
Well, the numbers are an average between 2 games instead of what we saw last game, which was him targeted 6 times with only 2 catches. And it was against a Green Bay defense that is significantly better than what we're going to see against the Dallas Cowboys today.
That's a very good rebuttal.
Who have given up the most receiving yards on the season of any team in the National Football League, allowing an average of 273 per game. So I think he could be, and probably should be, very capable of going over his prop today.
So that's why I wanted to ask that question, because you're right. It's only 2 games. The reason why I bring this up, but is not to go under Marvin Harrison Jr., because in theory, against a bad defense, maybe a higher scoring back and forth game, he could surpass all of his numbers, higher target share, whatever. I actually wanted to bring this up because through 2 games, Zay Jones has benefited quite a bit from Jacoby Brissett. If you just look over the course of the totality of the 2 games, he's in comparison with Kyler Murray. And this, I think, is a big difference. Kyler Murray targeted Zay Jones just 6 times in the 5 games in which he played. Now, Zay Jones missed one of those games. He only played in 4. He only got 6 targets, 5 receptions, a target share of 3.7% when Murray was out there. For Brissett, he's already got 9 targets in 2 games, 7 catches, averaging 20.9 yards per reception compared to just 7.4 in the times that he had Kyler Murray as his starting quarterback. And, of course, the target share much higher, as we just mentioned. The numbers for Jones are obviously very low. 20.5 in terms of the receiving yards, 1.5 receptions shaded to the over at minus 140. His longest reception at minus 110, again, against a bad defense. So I wanted to bring up the Harrison Jr. comp just because that's worth pointing out. But to me, I was just going to ask, like, am I crazy in thinking that Brissett, for whatever reason, seems to have over 2 games more reliance and a more willingness to target Zay Jones, but Zay Jones is clearly still being priced as a dude that's getting 3% of the targets as opposed to 11% of the targets.
I do like that. I think probably both of them are in good position, but just from a number standpoint and how significantly lower the Zay Jones number is compared to a Marvin Harrison, that makes a lot of sense. I want to present another receiving angle for you for this game for Arizona as well, Trey McBride. But instead of going from the receptions and yards numbers because of how high those have been with how much he's been targeted, I mean, last week against Green Bay, or I guess the week prior to the bye against Green Bay, 13 targets, 10 catches, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. But with Brissett, he's had 3 touchdowns, at least 1 in each of the last couple games, and 4 total end zone targets. So could a touchdown type of a thing or a multi-touchdown day or a first touchdown, could that potentially be an angle for Trey McBride, considering the way that he's been targeted in those crucial positions from Brissett?
Yeah, I think that would make some sense because his numbers, too, when I was looking at that, like, it hasn't dropped off. Target share is actually, he's been targeted more in terms of just percentage of targets for Brissett than he has with Murray, which is kind of surprising considering how often Murray would look for him, too. So I'd be down with it. And
it's like even money plus 105 for an anytime touchdown.
Sure. And to your point, too, he's got, 4 touchdowns on the season? 3 of them have been from Jacoby Brissett. So, like, Brissett likes him a lot.
Plus 340 for 2 scores, plus 550 for first touchdown score. Excuse me. Plus 800 for first touchdown.
I'll do you one better.
What's that?
What about plus 260 to lead the game in receiving for Trey McBride?
No.
And how about this? I brought this up with our friend Kendall Valenzuela on Sirius XM this morning. If I'm right about this love for Zay Jones that Jacoby Brissett apparently has, then in theory, his odds to lead the game in receiving yards is higher, or the probability is higher than 28-1.
Would it indicate?
That's correct. 28-1, Zay Jones, leading receiver for the game.
Does anything stand out to you on the Cowboys standpoint? Because this offense has been awesome, especially at home. And I gave the numbers out, but in their 3 home games so far this season, 40-plus points in all of them. CD, Lamb, George Pickens. It's like whoever you want to throw it to, Dak, they're making plays for you. And now that you have that Pickens true secondary option to CD, that's opened things up a lot for Lamb as well. And Javonte Williams on the ground has been fantastic. Any potential matchup disparity you see against the Cardinals defense for them?
The only thing that stuck out, and I always kind of wonder like how accurate these numbers are, but if you look at the DVOA defense versus receivers, depending on how much stock you put into those numbers, Cowboys, let me get the number up exactly, but the Cowboys really struggled against the Cardinals really struggled against slot receivers. And so if that was going to be the case, looking at one of the 2 guys that predominantly lines up in the slot and gets those snaps for Dallas might be something worth looking at. Let me see. Yeah, 26th against slot receivers. That would be the Arizona Cardinals. You look at the 2 dudes that line up mostly in the slot. You have Jake Ferguson, Kevontae Turpin, and Jalen Tolbert. So those 3 guys are the ones that predominantly play in that area of the field for Dallas. And maybe looking at any of those to surpass some of their numbers, the question is just who would you kind of target if that's going to be the case. And looking at these last few games and snaps and targets, things of that nature, you haven't really seen consistency from some of the players that we're mentioning here outside of Ferguson. But like Turpin, for example, he's been all over the place. Obviously was injured for a little bit. So I think you could go there. My question is just who do you put your finger on as like the slot guy that's going to be able to take advantage of that?
While you were talking, I was scrolling to look for another option to bet Trey McBride.
Okay.
So something that I bet yesterday on Sunday that ended up playing out pretty nicely in the 49ers-Giants game was Christian McCaffrey to be the 49ers' first team touchdown for San Francisco. So not first touchdown for the game, but specifically just for the team. And Trey McBride is plus 320 for first Cardinals touchdown.
Ooh, you hit one of those yesterday. Now you got the hunger.
I've got the hankering.
That's right.
I think that maybe could be an interesting option. I'll look into this a little bit more, maybe in the commercial break, and see when he scored those touchdowns the last couple weeks, because the last time we saw the Cardinals was 2 weeks ago, so it escapes me a little bit, but I'll look that up in the break. Anything else stand out to you just about this game in general? I know we'll do our official best bets at the end of the day, but
I mean, we've talked a lot about the receivers, but might as well hit the fact that
quarterbacks.
I mean, Jacoby Brissett. What do you? We've talked a lot about this from the Cardinals' perspective. You know what it means, how he's doing it against this defense, where you would assume that again, explosive plays are going to be. You're going to get an opportunity, to generate some more explosive plays.
And do like a longest completion type of a thing?
Yeah, or the longest completion, or again, kind of like what I was looking at. If you like a pass catcher to go over their receiving yards or anything like that, like me for, say, Jones, asking him to go over 12.5 on its longest reception might be something worth looking at. But again, Cowboys, explosive play rate 26th, pass explosive play rate allowed 18th, rush explosive play rate 27th. That sticks out as well. So you can maybe get some stuff done here. Longest completion as well, like you mentioned.
As we, by the way, talk about all of these props, if you go to vsin.com/NFL props, you get these really cool AI player projections that you can compare directly to the sportsbook numbers to see where there's a perceived advantage or something you might want to jump in on. And right now for the NBA season as well, we're offering a limited time free preview of our NBA player prop projections. So you can go to either vsin.com/NFL props or vsin.com/NBA props for those options.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Odds move up, odds move down. Let's see where the odds are moving today in Do You Approve This Move?
All right, we are back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Time for Do You Approve This Move? Looking at a handful of sports, the movement we've seen overnight or in the last couple days. And we're going to start in the association because we have a handful. It's actually a really pretty stacked card today.
A robust card.
A robust. Ooh, I like that word.
A lot of hoops going on today. College basketball, the National Basketball Association.
There were too many college basketball games for me to go down that road today, so I'm going to keep it simple with the NBA. But let's start with the Jazz and Celtics. Boston opened an 8.5-point favorite, bet out to 11. Now, do you approve the move?
I mean, I think we have a couple of reasons as to why I think the market likes this Celtics team. We've seen it kind of push back on the thought of it being one of the worst teams in the NBA. It's actually gotten supported at the window quite often. Jazz, no Walker Kessler, George Niang doesn't matter. He's been out for a while. So I think I can kind of just see this market's general support for Boston at home against Utah, who's out on the road on a long trip. Let's get it done. I say I approve.
All right. How about this one?
By the way, I should know too. Second leg of a back-to-back. So the market, you usually see like a point move against the team on the second leg of a back-to-back. So I think that explains some of it as well.
The Pistons and Grizzlies, Detroit out from a 2.5-point favorite on the road to 4.5. John Morant suspended for detrimental conduct to the team for a game. How do you feel about it?
So with John Morant, I mean, this really is more about like what's going on with the Grizzlies than anything else. This team's been an absolute nightmare. Now, Ja did serve his suspension against against Toronto last game. Okay. So he should be back out here today, unless the suspension has been extended.
No,
here's the thing, though.
Just one.
I mean, but internally, who knows? I mean, this thing seems to be falling apart at the seams, given his shots at the coaching staff, the unwillingness to run this offense, like all this sort of stuff. So I'm just more morbidly curious. Is this just like where we see the Grizzlies kind of fall apart and the market's kind of in on, all right, let's maybe go against this team and fade them, despite the fact that on the second leg of a back-to-back, you are getting your arguably best player back here. But I think you can make the argument, and I think Zach Cohen was on him today too, because he was texting me and Kelly in our Harvard Handicappers group chat, where you can make the case for Memphis, but I've been burned and I don't like this team, so I approve.
Is he just more trouble than he's worth at this point? Or like, would a change of scenery do him good if they do trade him?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not the biggest Ja guy. In theory, you're talking about a guy who does not defend well at his position, cannot shoot, has availability issues, including suspensions and injuries. And that's supposed to be like, why is some of that change? What is changing about those issues if you go to Miami?
Fair.
You know, unless these, of course, people in South Beach will tell you get him in heat culture and he'll be fixed. I don't think that's the cast.
If you're Eric Spoelstra, do you want that problem to even have to deal with?
Well, because here's the thing. Miami does it because I saw a lot of like pushing for Miami. Eric Spoelstra went out and got one of the former Grizzlies assistants that was running the offense that got Taylor Jenkins fired last year because Ja didn't like it. So, no, I don't think that would work. I don't think that would work either.
Why the flippin' favorites for Lakers Trailblazers? LA from a 1.5 point favorite. Portland now 2.5, 3.5, depending on where you look.
I would assume some information here that Luka Doncic and or Austin Reeves isn't going to play for them. Remember last night, late night win over the Miami Heat, 130-120. Doncic, of course, with the finger issue as that kept him out for a couple of games. So second leg of a back-to-back taken on Portland. I would assume that the market is expecting, or some information is out there, that Luka and or maybe a couple of other guys are not going to play tonight for the Lakers.
Okay, let's go to the NFL. How about sharp teeth and claws getting bet up from 3.5 to 5.5 on the early look against the Saints this coming week? We just saw our first look at Tyler Shuck as QB1 for New Orleans. You approve the move?
I think you do, right? I mean,
it's weird seeing Carolina with a minus in a big number.
And remember the one time we did see it, the market rebuffed it, said no.
Yes.
And the Jets went off either as a pick or a small favorite in that game that Carolina did eventually win. But you got to think that a team that ranks 30th in adjusted line yards allowed per carry, that has been giving up some explosive runs, is going to have some trouble here containing Rico Dowdle in this running game. So I kind of buy it, and we just saw how much better this team has been. And you've said it, although I do wonder with this change in roles how it is affected. But still, we should note, as you've said 1,000 times, the Panthers do play better at home.
They do.
Outside of when Andy Dalton starts games.
Yeah, it was like except for when your quarterback has a broken thumb and you're playing the Buffalo Bills. How about, speaking of the aforementioned Bills at Miami, a division clash coming up this coming weekend. Buffalo out from 8.5 to 9.5, depending on where you look, fresh off the win over KC.
And fresh off of the trade of your leading pass rusher? You think this is some of that, right? I mean, I don't think he's worth a full point, but clearly the white flag is being waved here by Miami. The front office is shopping guys. Maybe by the time we even get to this game, more dudes are gone. Your best pass rusher, again, he's your team leader in pressures. Sacks, he's got 3 only. But in terms of pressures, he's got 11 more than the next guy, Bradley Chubb. I mean, seems like a team that's ready to kind of call it quits from at least we're selling this roster. And I think that would make sense to look at Buffalo to continue to roll here.
Slight line move in Houston, Jacksonville from 3 to 1.5 point favorite. CJ Stroud in concussion protocol, where things sit right now. Jags off a 1 point OT win in Vegas.
Got to be CJ Stroud, right?
Yeah, and the total move as well, as you see here on the screen, by the way, from 42.5 down to 37.5.
Yeah, I think that would explain moving off the key number. Davis Mills is fine. I mean, given how bad the offensive line has been and how poor CJ Stroud has been, I think you can make the argument it's a pretty minimal difference between him and Mills at this point right now.
What do you think about this Lions Commanders move? Is this too much without Jaden Daniels? Detroit from a field goal favorite out to as high as 9 in the market now. This Lions team, fresh off the loss to Minnesota in Washington.
And remember, too, we also got news a couple of minutes ago, but five
Marshawn
hours
Lattimore,
ago. Yeah, officially confirmed he's out for the season. So, like, there is, I think you're talking about just now a cluster of injuries for an old NFL team now without its starting quarterback. It's hard to really buy in. And, you know, Lions coming off of a loss. How much you really think you would assume against this defense? And do we factor it in? I don't think it's entirely part of the line move, but a little bit of revenge on the mind for Detroit after last year's postseason.
Yeah, I can see it for sure. College football. So there's a handful of games here. Tulsa at FAU. FAU out from a 5.5 point favorite. That's been cut down with Tulsa getting played to 3.5. And then Colorado at West Virginia. Oof. So listen to this. West Virginia, who's been a terrible football team, by the way, they get the upset win at Houston, 10-point dub for them there. They go from a 4.5 point favorite to 6.5, despite being as awful as they are. Now, why is that? Because they're taking on a Colorado Buffaloes team that has allowed 105 points be scored on them the last 2 weeks to their
24.
24?
Yep.
Disgusting. Do you approve the move?
I mean, this is like the buy low spot of all buy low spots. This gets to 7. We run it with Ralphie here. Let's do this. I mean, I know they're on the road, but this is bad. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not the big. You know me. I'm not the biggest Arizona Brendan fan, so I think it's actually pretty bad that you no-showed for that game. The season's clearly lost. Do you have a little bit? I mean, how ugly does this get? This schedule. So, like you said, you're on the road against this West Virginia team catching 6.5. Arizona State and K-State to round it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be ugly.
SMU at Boston College is interesting. SMU from 13.5 down to just 10.5 point favorites on the road in Boston. SMU, potential letdown spot, having to travel on the road after the win over Miami. But Boston College just played their Super Bowl, mind you, against Notre Dame. So what do you think? Do you approve the move?
I mean, they played their Super Bowl and they still lost somewhat comfortably.
Lost by 15.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you were there, you were watching that. I watched a lot of it just because it ended up being a pretty good game and very interesting. But I would assume I don't know if it's as much a letdown for them as it is for SMU to have to go on the road and take on Bill O'Brien and this offense. It does have some interesting things it can do after winning a big game against Miami like that.
That just spread feels a little bit weird. I feel like they should be bigger favorites. I'm not sure I agree with it. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with it moving that much.
Market's not perfect.
Notre Dame played their C- game and still won by 15. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. But I understand the letdown angle of it, so that probably will end up being a stay away for me.
But a letdown, to your point, a letdown's not worth like a 3-point move.
Yeah. Cal at Louisville. This is the game I'll be on the sideline for coming up this weekend. Out from 19.5. Out from 17.5 to 19.5 for Louisville in this spot. Stanford at North Carolina. UNC from 7.5 to 9.5. Georgia at Mississippi State. The Cowbells getting played at home a little bit, down to 7.5. Oregon from 6.5 down to 5.5 at Iowa, and SDSU, a 3-point move on them in the favorites role at Hawaii. Any of those catch your eye?
I mean, Hawaii, come on now. I tried to take my shot with Wyoming. Didn't go well. Hawaii's a more competent team than that. This might be the sell-high spot for your Aztecs here. Making the trip all the way out there, laying nearly a touchdown.
What time is the game at?
That I do not know off the top of my head. I will say also really quickly, we've been all over the UNC improvement. 9.5.
9.5.
I think we've done a very good job covering that, and we've been right.
You have been right. Take credit where credit is due. You have been right.
But this is now UNC minus 9.5.
Yeah, that's ugly.
Might be time to jump ship.
Maybe. Although I know what you're saying about Hawaii, but I think that.
Did you look it up? What time is the kick?
8 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, a little late. Not bad though for a West Coast team.
Yeah, I think they're kind of used to having to play in that.
What time's your game this
role.
weekend?
Anyways, my game 7 o'clock Eastern.
You gonna be able to make it? You gonna be able to watch it? Big one for your boys.
I'm not gonna stay up for that. I got a flight to make and a Sunday show to do for the people. We got to step aside when we come back. Getting into a little college basketball. Greg Hoops Peterson joins us next to talk through his favorite plays on the card today.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
College Hoops is back. As of today, officially official. We've got games underway already, starting at 8 o'clock this morning Eastern time, 5 a.m. for our guy JVT, who is already locked in and watching games. And the last game at Washington tipping off at, I believe, 8 Eastern. So we've got a full day going on the card. And to help us get into it all, Greg Hoops Peterson joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, host, of course, of the Coast to Coast Hoops podcast. You can download, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. He is going to have articles out on vsin.com every single day that there are college basketball games to keep you up to date with what you need to know. And I love the comment from you, Greg, in Bill 80's daily newsletter this morning saying, listen, having 365 teams available in college basketball, it is not easy to be prepped for everything. Isolate teams, conferences you want to dive into. What is your best advice for people that are trying to jump into this season?
Try to just go with a few teams that you've got familiarity with. And maybe like if you're living out there in the Midwest, you take a little bit more of a look at the Big Ten and the Horizon League. If you're out there on the West Coast, the Big West, just teams that you're able to gather information on relatively easily, because trying to tackle 365 Division I teams, it's going to be a defeatist effort in year number one. I've been doing bracketology since I was in middle school, so I was very fortunate with that regard. If you're jumping into this a little bit more new, you want to stick to a few conferences, and then you branch out from there. You maybe watch like the Horizon League non-conference games, and let's say that they're playing a bunch of MAC teams, then you branch out a little bit more to the MAC. So you just gather information on teams as you go along. along, and then you're able to do a little bit more of a slow build rather than trying to cram for 365 teams all in 24 hours. That is not going to go well for you, and you're probably going to be having a lot of bets where you don't know what you're betting.
Yep, couldn't agree more. You watch one and just spend one game and it just eventually spindles off into a bunch. And to Greg's point, I like to handicap West Coast Conference hoops in the Mountain West. And so it's generally what I stick with as we move along. All right, Greg, we'll talk about the big boys first, though, because we do have some pretty good games that we're going to have later today. Let's start first with the matchup of all matchups tonight. Florida taking on Arizona. What do you make of this new look Gators team that I said maybe you would agree might have the best backcourt in the country versus an Arizona team that's got a high-rated prospect that I can't all wait to see?
With Arizona, I do think that this team is going to be able to match up down low with the Florida team that they bring back a lot of their low post presence from a season ago. You've got Thomas Howell back, who's so versatile, shoots it well from three. He's able to give you 7+ rebounds per game. Ruben Chinyelu is not some sort of an offensive monster, but is going to be able to give you those 6+ rebounds per game along with Alex Condon. And for Florida, the backcourt is very talented, but they also haven't played together. There is going to be, in my opinion, a little bit of a drop-off from Walter Clayton, who he could just hit shots anywhere last season. Trying to be able to replace that guy is very difficult. And for Arizona, I think this might be addition by subtraction not having Caleb Love out there, because Caleb Love was their leading scorer with 17.2 points per game. But as we know, with Caleb Love, he could shoot you into a game, and boy, oh boy, could he shoot you out of a game. Arizona did a nice job in terms of bringing in a lot of freshmen, but they've got a lot of presence back down low as well. Toby Awaka is a guy that I really like that's able to give you 7 rebounds per game. Montejuvis Krivas is a guy that many people thought was the highest upside guy for Arizona last year, goes out after about 7 or 8 games due to injury. He's back as well. So I look at this spot with Arizona having the crowd on their side out here in lovely Las Vegas. I do think that Arizona is going to be able to hold in there. I can't take a shot here on the money line, but I'm going to be willing to take the points. And since both of these teams are so good on the glass, but having a little bit of transition in the backcourt, I also took a shot on the under as well.
So I was to follow up really quick, because I mentioned this to Stormy. In conference play, Arizona finished 10th in defensive efficiency. Are they going to be better this year defensively?
I believe so. I think that losing Caleb Love is actually going to be able to help out the defense as well. And I think that you're going to see a lot more Anthony De La Rosa. He came over from Campbell last year, was a 40% three-point shooter, because Arizona, even though they had a high-octane offense, they really weren't a good three-point shooting team, because Caleb Love would just chuck up shots from pretty much anywhere. So I do think that this is going to be a more efficient, better defensive team with Arizona. Maybe they play just a little bit slower than they did a season ago, because they do have so many good rebounders as well.
College basketball betting analyst Greg Hoops Peterson joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. The second game of that Hall of Fame series out here at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, BYU and Villanova. And we're seeing the Cougars bet out from 8.5 to now 9.5 point favorites, total 153.5. Do you agree with that move on BYU?
I do agree. This is pretty much the max that I'd be willing to lay at 9.5, but I could still get there at a 9.5. Anything of single digits, which 9.5 is a threshold there, I'm willing to lay it with BYU. Villanova just doesn't have a lot of guys following Kevin Willard on over from Maryland, because with Maryland, they had that great starting 5 and absolutely nothing else. None of those starting 5 came with Kelvin Willard, and that means that you're going to have a lot of just out of sorts sort of backcourt play, in my opinion. They brought in Tefera Gapere from Maryland. He averaged like 3 points per contest. A few other guys that like redshirted a season ago, so there could be a little bit of upside with a true 7-footer that comes over from Maryland as well. A little bit of an international man of mystery, but for BYU, they bring in AJ DeBanza. He's a freshman that is right there with Darren Peterson in terms of best freshman in all of college basketball. They returned their top scorer in Richie Saunders as well. And I do think that Villanova can succeed in one thing. I think that they're going to look to slow things down, because other than last year, Kevin Willard's teams go all the way back to his days over at Seton Hall were not necessarily really up-tempo teams. And with this sort of a roster that he admitted coming into the year about 2 weeks ago, he was saying that his team is very banged up coming into the year. I think that they're going to make this a little bit grimier, a little bit slower. But I do think that in the end, with BYU having Kevin Keita down low, they're going to win the battle down low. They've got much more chemistry in the backcourt as well. So I'm willing to lay up to 9.5 here with the Cougars. And I do think that once again, one of these neutral court games, and this is a body clock game for Villanova as well. This game is most likely going to tip right around 9:30 p.m. Eastern. If Florida versus Arizona goes long, it might tip even later as well. That also helps BYU. So took a shot on the under to go along with BYU.
Now let's talk about some real hoops then. James Madison taking on Akron. Zips picked to finish first in the MAC by the Blue Ribbon.
Let's go.
They are an 8.5-point favorite, total of 154, 153.5, depending on where you look. What do you make of Adam Burke's Akron Zips tonight?
I do think that Akron is going to be able to get the outright win, but I did take the points here with James Madison. And the reason why I took the points with James Madison is that this team is defense-oriented under Preston Spradlin. You go all the way back to his time over at Morehead State, his teams consistently are outside the top 300 in terms of total possessions per game. Last year, they were right around about 307th in the country. Took them a little bit of time to find their sea legs with the changeover from Mark Byington, who took that job over at Vanderbilt, but they were able to find it. They've got a guy in Eddie Ricks down low who actually followed Preston Spradlin on over from Morehead State. He's able to give you 5.5 rebounds per game for the Zips. They do bring back Tavari Johnson in the backcourt. He was able to give you double figures, so he's going to be able to help out a little bit on that front. But for Akron, it was very out of character what they did last year on offense. They're a top 50 team in terms of points scored on a per possession basis, 12th in terms of total possessions per game. Each of the previous 3 seasons, they were outside the top 215 in terms of total possessions per game. I don't think that they're going to be playing at warp speed like a lot of people think. James Madison has a very good propensity to be able to slow down games as well. That total is well north of 150. I was seeing it last right around about 154. I made my total in the mid 140s, so I really like that under. And James Madison, I think, is getting a little bit disrespected here. I'm taking north of a touchdown here with our nation's 4th president.
There we go. Greg, this FAU game, I was looking at your article up on vsin.com. You were getting a point with Florida Atlantic earlier this morning. Now, if you want to bet the Owls, you have to lay 1.5, total 148.5 against Boston College. How do you see this one playing out with the number move? Do you still think FAU is the right side?
Oh, absolutely. I made Florida Atlantic a 6-point favorite, so I very much agree with this line move. It's a case where 1 or 2 books actually did open Florida Atlantic as a favorite. They then got pushed to the underdog. Now they're back to being the favorite, and I think that bringing back Nico Moretti is big for Florida Atlantic. He was a part of a team that really just bombed it from 3, and Cannon Carlisle, I think, has the chance to really be able to boom here for this Florida Atlantic team. He spent the last 2 years over at Stanford, and he also spent some time at Indiana last year. When he was at Stanford, he had a run of like 10 games where he was averaging like 16 points per contest out there in the Pac-12. He single-handedly took down a few ranked teams all by himself. I think that that's going to be a handful for a team at Boston College that they've got Donald Hand, who averaged about 14 points, 5 rebounds per game, and there's no helping hand right now for Donald Hand. That's about all that they've got. They didn't bring in really any guards from the power conference level. They don't have a lot of size down low. They just don't have the resources of an ACC team. For Florida Atlantic, they bring in a lot of international men of mystery that I really like as well. The changeover from what they were able to get out of Dusty May. Certainly it's been a little bit of a tough one, but I think that this coaching staff is doing a rock solid job. They have found some guys with international experience that I think will help out Carlisle and get the job done here. So I took a shot on Florida Atlantic. I think the Boston College is going to be slow and controlled. I like that under as well.
Greg, you're awesome. Hardest working man at the network with all you do to make sure that you are dialed up on all of these teams and games. We appreciate your time. Thank you for this, and enjoy the national holiday that is College Basketball Tip-Off Day.
Absolutely. And for those that took Murray State, they just got the cover against Omaha. So good on them.
There we go. Greg Hoops Peterson, everybody. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Coast to Coast Hoops pod. And Greg is going to have write-ups each and every day available at vsin.com. He also is a huge contributor to our college basketball betting guide that is out and available right now. vsin.com/subscribe. If you want to come join us, you do need to be a pro subscriber to have access to all of our guides. But college basketball guide is out now as all of the major events come up, and we have new different comprehensive guides coming out. If you're a subscriber, you get access to all of them as a part of it. In addition to Greg's previews, we've got Matt Human's top 50 rankings, all 31 conferences set up, Wooden Award candidates, futures, so much information in this guide. Check it out today, vsin.com/subscribe.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Wrapping up this Monday edition edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app, any of our great affiliates across the country, wherever you're watching or listening. We appreciate you hanging out with us today. We'll have our best bets coming up in a moment. Remember, if you missed any of the program today, you can always download Money Moves wherever you get your podcasts as well. Had a great segment moments ago with Greg Hoops Peterson breaking down what is a stacked college basketball card today. But of course, the big games of the day coming up here in Vegas. We also broke down all of the line moves from the NFL, looking ahead to week 10, college football, the NBA today, lots of different stuff that we can get into. Monday Night Football upon us as well with the Cowboys and Cardinals. And that's a game that I know we've talked about it a lot today from a handful of different angles. The only thing I actually firmly felt good enough to buy in on as a best bet today was the over 53.5. But I couldn't talk myself into a lot more. I think the Trey McBride angles for me was something I like. I know you like Zay Jones, questioning the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing. Anything else you decided to fire on?
Zay Jones, anytime touchdown, plus
You're
425. Yeah. Put a little something on Zay Jones, and I'll officially throw it in too. Just did right now looking around. So we'll go over 21.5 receiving yards for Zay Jones tonight.
Okay.
We'll buy into the increased targets. And I think really the legitimacy of Brissett spreading the ball around a little bit more.
I'm hoping that maybe Monday Night Football can put a positive end to what was a very roller coaster day for me yesterday in the NFL. So as far as the teasers went, if I would have just picked the Ravens and Chargers together, that would have been great. But instead, I had the Lions as my base leg in both of them. And it was just a non-starter, I felt like, after the first drive of that game where Minnesota was just off and running. So that sucked because I very firmly believed that the line move was correct from the 8.5 to 9.5. I didn't want to lay that big of a number, but I felt pretty confident at a -2.5 that the Lions would be able to get that done at home against a Vikings team with J.J. McCarthy and an injured O-line. Not even close. So 0 for 2 on the teasers again this week, which was a bummer. Cashed everything on Christian McCaffrey, which was good. We got the rush attempts, the longest rush, first team touchdown for San Francisco. Cam Ward passing yards didn't get there. The Chiefs hosed me yesterday. We did get the Broncos Texans under, no matter how many times yesterday you tried to Gucci curse me. And then the Colts.
No, I was right.
Yes, but you don't say that. You don't say, oh, looking like a good under.
Coming from the creator of, the Rams are fine, right?
That's why should we not learn from me? You didn't have a bet on them though that day, did you?
That day I can't remember. I know we had them in the contest.
When the Eagles had the block field goal running back, you did not have a bet.
No, I know we
them.
had them in the contest. That was all I remember. So, but maybe.
And my context around saying that was when we were going through the consensus picks that day from the contest. I was like, you at least feel kind of good about that, but
don't you?
College football, I went 1-1. The team total for Indiana got there no sweat at all. They put over 50 spot on the board. USC couldn't get to the 31.5, unfortunately, at Nebraska. They did win the game,
how about that for Nebraska, though, too? Raiola out. That sucks.
Yeah. Yes, but great for our show bet, potentially, for somebody on this desk. If Avery Johnson can continue to thrive.
We do have to get to the bottom of that at some point.
Yes. So for anyone who missed it, earlier this season, and JVT and I, throughout the course of the year, we have a handful of different show bets, but one of them in the preseason was who was going to have the better season between Dylan Raiola and Avery Johnson of Kansas State. And Raiola now done for the season with that injury. Avery Johnson still has a little bit of runway to try to make up ground here. So it was looking like clear cut. You were the winner there, but now we got some questions creeping up and we have to figure out a punishment for what that's going to be.
The good thing is that Dylan Raiola cannot perform any worse.
Facts. NHL, though, we did have a clean sweep before I left for the weekend, so at least some positive things happened yesterday. How did your weekend go overall?
Flush it down the toilet and we move on. That's the kind of weekend it was. Yeah. NBA, 0 for on Friday with a few money line plays, including one with the Grizzlies. It was one of those where it's like, why did I ask a team I don't like to do something here against the Los Angeles Lakers?
So it's not only something that happens to you in football, but it happens in basketball as well.
For sure, yeah.
Asking teams you don't like or bad teams to do good things for you.
The Grizzlies are dead to me. We could throw this up. Sixers pick, Pacers money line, Grizzlies money line. So those three go down. NFL, Colts -3, don't get there. Chiefs money line last night. Falcons +4.5 gets it done. And then a split in college football. Texas -2.5, Tennessee -3. Texas, like the lone no sweat of the weekend. So that was kind of nice, at least to open up the morning window when I was hungover as all hell sitting in the sports book trying to recover from a very wild Halloween night.
So what did you ultimately dress up as, by the way, for Halloween?
I don't like Halloween.
What do you mean? You went to Halloween festivities and you were not dressed in a costume of any sort?
I went to 2 Halloween parties and didn't wear a costume, correct?
That's sacrilegious. What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't like Halloween. I'm not a big Halloween guy.
Then don't go to the party. Don't.
I'm just not allowed to go.
I guess every party needs a pooper. That's why they invited you. Is that the thing?
I'm the life of the party.
That's crazy to me, though. Well, I believe you were the life of the party on Friday. On Saturday, not so much. Or did you still push through?
I pushed through.
Okay.
So what is this? What's the rump whatever I tried for the first time?
Rumplemints?
Yeah, Rumplemints. Took a few shots of that.
That
Wasn't
is
that good.
a disgusting liquor,
Wasn't
in
that
my
strong.
opinion.
I was sold a false bill of goods on that. The people around we were making it seem to be very, very strong and powerful, and I took 3 down, no problem.
So I'm assuming this is because of our wonderful Adam Burke, who that is his favorite liquor. We'll have Adam Burke, by the way, on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
We talk more college basketball, college football, all that good stuff with him.
Also watched the very button-up professional dive for a beer pong ball and shatter a glass of champagne all over the floor. So,
I don't know this.
They remain unnamed. They remain unnamed, but it was very, very professional.
That is the one, but not a bummer of my job. I absolutely love, and I'm very grateful for the fact that every weekend I get to go to a random college football city and call games and stuff. But on a holiday week, it's like I am a Halloween person, as evidenced by me dressing up as you on Thursday. I like that kind of thing. I find it fun. But that I was thinking that maybe because my game was so early in the day that I would have a shot at an earlier flight home, that I could still make some Halloween festivities.
You pulled that off last year, didn't you?
I did. The year before, yeah. No, yeah. Last year I was able to make it back, and I was very it was super fun. Although I think I just said that I was like a homeless person or something because I looked
I had a costume that year.
Rough.
That was good.
Neither here nor there. But I was hoping that I could make it back. My flight just got delayed like crazy over and over and over again. I did want to say, so as we continue to go back to our best bets, though, in addition to the Monday Night Football play on the over,
throw it in.
San Diego State to win the Mountain West Conference. The last year of it looking the way it does, even though Grand Canyon is in it and you're adding Grand Canyon. So we're Oppo here on our Mountain West best bets.
Sure. So this is Stormy's if you're watching them at VSiN.com or YouTube TV. So Stormy's got Cowboys and Cardinals, as she said, over. And then SDSU to win the Mountain West at plus 120. This isn't like anti-San Diego State. It's more of, I think the odds should be shorter for Grand Canyon to win the Mountain West. So, yes, added that to portfolio. Grand Canyon to win the Mountain West at 11-1. And just to be clear, because we don't have this up there and to make this official, we will go with Zay Jones over 20.5 receiving yards tonight. And a little sprinkle on plus 425 anytime touchdown.
Should I then also make official Trey McBride even money anytime touchdown?
Sure.
Just to have a little flair, just to have a little fire on the game today?
Sure.
We talked about this earlier when we were breaking down the prop angles on this one. He has had 4 end zone targets in the 2 games with Jacoby Brissett as the starting quarterback, 3 touchdowns in those 2 games after what was a slow scoring start for him this year as well. I'm glad he's finally eaten and scoring a little bit after what happened last year. Remember, waiting all season. It's brutal. So I'm glad that he's finally cashing in a bit.
To your point, though, that made for one of the greatest. What game was it when he finally got there? If you could pull it up, just because I just remember that game, it was very much, and the last few were in that territory, but that was load up on Trey McBride anytime touchdown, because this is happening. All they keep talking about.
And then it went back-to-back weeks, too. So it was at L.A. Rams, December 28th. He hadn't had a touchdown all season long, and then he went back-to-back against the Rams and 49ers.
So to add some evidence for you here for your case for Trey McBride to score a touchdown, according to Sumer Sports, 42 routes run in the red zone, 9 receptions, 51 yards. That's a target share of 37% in the red zone for Trey McBride, for amongst Arizona Cardinals players, obviously. So he is the guy when they get down to the red zone, or the red area, as some call it.
Did you settle on the way you feel one way or another about the Marvin Harrison situation? Or
I just wanted to point that out. My whole point of bringing up Marvin Harrison Jr. was, I think he is being priced as still where he is throughout the year, where I think the reality is it should probably be a little bit lower, but I was using that more as a case to build up Zay Jones than anything else. So I think it's more about, I think Brissett is a little bit more of a professional quarterback who's willing to spread the ball out as opposed to hyper-focus on 2 targets, which clearly, when you look at some of the numbers, is exactly what Kyler Murray was doing. He was just spamming Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, when the reality is you should probably go through your reads, and guys like Zay Jones and others probably have a little bit more to it, as we've seen.
Speaking of Jacoby Brissett, his prop tonight set at 249.5, which is right about where that Opta AI projection is sitting as well. But for a Cowboys defense that's been so bad against the pass, I wonder if that sets up for a nice over for him today as well, especially if they ultimately are trailing to an extent as against this Cowboys team that is, I mean, people keep laying the 3.5, even with it over that key number. Just worth noting there. But again, those are our best plays of the day. That's a wrap for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, though. Same time, same place. Stick around, though, right here on VSiN, because we've got a loaded slate coming up. Follow the Money with Mitch and Paul, followed by VSiN Primetime and Cashing Out in the evening. But with Mitch and Paul next, Nick Whalen's going to preview fantasy football matchups. Warren Sharp on the line to share his model edges for the upcoming NFL slate and so much more. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck with your bets.